Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Dayna Show. I'm your host, Dayna Kaplan. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel, like and follow my stuff on social media, and please comment below. It really helps the show. When I was a little girl, I used to stare up at the sky and watch the planes, hoping that one day I would be on one of them coming to Israel, to Jerusalem. There was something so special about Jerusalem that felt ancient and alive at the same time. It was the city we prayed toward, the city we ended every Seder with next year in Jerusalem. It was more than a place, it was a memory, it was a promise, and it was home, even before it was my address. For the Jewish people, Jerusalem is not just geography, it is the direction of our prayers. It is the center of our history, and it is the place where we were exiled from and the place we never stopped longing for. For thousands of years, Jews across the world whispered its name in hope, in tears, and in faith. Today's episode is about what happens when that longing becomes real. I'm joined today by Kim Bash, originally from South Africa, a Baalat Teshuva who made Aliyah and now lives in the old city of Jerusalem. She works in high-end real estate in Yerushalayim, helping Jews from around the world turn their dream of living in Israel into something tangible. But Kim doesn't just sell property. She advocates for Israel across the globe. She speaks passionately about why this land matters, especially during challenging times like today when anti-Semitism is rising and Jews everywhere are feeling the weight of history again. Her message is clear. This is our home, and living here is not just possible, it's powerful. And what makes this conversation even more meaningful to me is how we met. There was a period in my life when I was cleaning apartments in Jerusalem, and one of those apartments was in Mamila, some of the most expensive real estate in the city. Kim was renting it out, and that's how we first connected. Different seasons of life, different realities, some Jerusalem. So today, we're talking about faith, return, courage, identity, and what it means to actually come home. Am Yisrael Chai. Let's get into it.
Did you want me to open this now?
Yeah, take a look what I got you.
Oh, gosh.
Do you know what that is?
What is this?
Crembo.
It's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
You can give it to your kids if it's
Oh my
not
gosh,
for
they
you.
love creme.
I know.
No, what do you mean? There's always, you know what they always say? Wear the socks in the morning. Are you kidding me? That's the biggest thing.
So you have
I
another
have
pair.
4 boys. No, these
Really?
are mine. Thank you very much. You're a doll. Mwah. Thank you.
So
love it.
that company Groovy, they're a sponsor of mine for the show.
Oh really?
So I've been giving them out to my guests, and they freak out. They're the
They are so
cutest
cute.
thing.
I've never seen that though.
Yeah.
Where do they sell them?
Online, you can go to my link and get them for a really good
Oh
price.
my gosh.
They're
I
great
just thought
for
of
presents.
So where on your site?
Yeah. They
my
have
God.
like they have Bisley, they have different
Oh my gosh,
prime
that's
ministers, and they have Yerushalayim
The
themed.
Bamba.
Yes, well, Bamba I don't know, but they have shakshuka and they have all these crazy Israeli things.
Oh my gosh. So
But-
it's only on your site that you can order from?
Yeah.
That's how quickly could I order? Because I'm leaving for London on Wednesday.
Yeah?
It would be a good.
I'll show you right after we're done.
It would be a good little gimmick to give out to
For
some people.
sure.
Just
They have
as
all
as
different Zionists. They have Golden Meir. They have all
Are you
different kinds of.
serious?
Yeah.
I have to send somebody Golden Meir socks.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter did a big picture of Golden Meir for her art, one of her art projects.
Really?
Yeah. She did a whole thing. It was like whatever. It's very interesting. It was. She's at Betzalel, so I don't know if you ever met in my kids, but stunning, gorgeous, Blian Hora, stunning. She does modeling as well. Beautiful girl, inside and out, and she's an artist. She did a painting. I'll tell you very, very, very quickly. Bar Cooperstein, the hostage.
I know him. Benny, my son, was friends with him.
Kidding? Okay.
Before the war, they were in the army together.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I picked up, you know how they were handing out like little things for different hostages?
Yeah.
And I picked up his, with the Be Their Light, it was called. It was a campaign to light Shabbos candles. So I happened to just pick up a name. and got given candles to light for Bar Cooperstein. So every Shabbos, even though obviously we're davening for all the hostages, he was my guy. I was davening for him. And then the mother, I think Judith, I don't know her name, she came to Chava's school to talk about him and the hostage, whatever. And Chava said she's going to paint a picture of him, because it was so weird, because I was davening for him. And so she told her his mother, my mother davens for your son every Shabbos. We got his picture of our candles. And she said, I'm going to paint, there was a picture in the newspaper with him. He wasn't a religious guy, but he had his army uniform on and he had his tefillin on. And so Chava said, I'm going to paint him and I'm going to manifest it. I'm going to give this picture to him when he is released. Okay, down the line now, we ended up giving it to him. And it was such an emotional thing. I can't even tell you that. I'm going to show you the picture. He was blown away. It was such a beautiful moment.
Wow.
And just whatever.
At the beginning of each of my shows, I would say something about the hostages.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just never felt that it was right to enjoy myself without thinking about 100%. Them. And I'm so happy, but almost like can't believe that they're all back.
It's like when you walk through, I haven't been through Ben Gurion yet without their pictures up.
It's a miracle.
No, it's a complete.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. But I still daven for him. I keep my picture there. I'm thinking daven for his mental health.
Yeah.
And his recovery.
Yeah. When you hear like some of the
stories.
Oh, I
know all the sexual abuse cases. I mean, we all knew this was going to happen, what it was, but it's just horrific.
Yeah.
I just wonder what it was all about, because nothing seems to have changed so much besides us as a people. But I don't know what's actually happened in Gaza. Like, what is going on there now?
Well, it doesn't, from what I hear from soldiers that are there, it's definitely not the same place as it used to be. And the fact that we don't hear about it doesn't mean that nothing is happening.
That's also true.
I don't want to know everything.
That's
like, we have enough stuff to deal with on our own.
I know.
With hearing about every single maneuver that the army does.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, how are we supposed to continue on with our lives and do all the things that we have to do with having that trauma? We have enough trauma.
I know.
You know?
No, it's true. It's amazing what this country has endured. Even everything we do is just... Anyway, and I'm going to London this week. So my whole message is that you guys have got to get out of here as soon as possible.
Really? Yeah. Are you going as an advocate?
Yeah.
To speak?
I'm going as an advocate, but I'm doing parlour meetings. It's not about real estate. For me, and we'll talk about it maybe on the show,
We started the show. You can talk. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we have?
Say what you want.
I wasn't sure when we're starting.
We started.
Oh, okay. So one of the reasons I really feel that, we, especially America, Europe is gone, in my opinion. I mean, if you go to France, it's not safe to walk around. You cannot wear a kippah on your head there at all. And I always say to my clients that if you cannot walk around with a kippah on your head, a Magen David around your neck, what are you doing living there?
Right.
If you cannot feel safe being a Jew, walking in your own neighborhood, in your own city, in your own country, I have no idea why you're staying there. And I think one of the big reasons is the gashmias, the materialism, as much as I hate to say it. But
it's avodah zarah.
It is.
It is. It's such an avodah zarah because you don't even know that it's happening to you. You can't even differentiate.
You get caught up in it.
You can't. It's an addiction. You can't let go. It becomes part of your identity. So ingrained in you.
Well, I always say to people as well is that what is a luxury in Israel is a necessity in America. And it's just you get so used to it. I remember when I lived in Manhattan many years ago, and I would have my hair done every week. I'd have my nails done every week. That was the way of life. Here it's just very real. It doesn't, but it's, like, I think about even growing up in South Africa where we weren't rich, we were not wealthy Jews. We grew up, I had a job from the age of 13. I was working, I had working parents, never had anything given to me. I worked very, very, very hard from a very young age. And I think that's what also gave me the ability to adjust very well in Israel, because I never grew up like other South Africans who had servants. It's a big joke. My friends used to say, "Oh, you should report your parents to child welfare because you have no servants in your house." And I think it gave me a head start in terms of being able to cope and to be able to.
That's why you're a different South African.
Am I?
Yeah. That's why. I grew up in Toronto, but we had a huge South African community there. And my father had a Judaica business, like, Sfarim and like different Judaica items. The South Africans that would come in, excuse me, my brother and I always talk about this. they treated us really badly.
Why?
They weren't nice. They weren't nice to us because we were workers in the store, and they had this attitude where they were like better than us or whatever. And I always thought, like, I'm sorry I'm saying this. It's not, it's very general, but like the ones who've had like this really spoiled upbringing in South Africa, they come and they can't
Adjust?
adjust,
I don't
or
know.
they have the
Most South
same
Africans,
mindset. They can't
most
let
South
go.
Africans I know are, I mean, amazing. I mean, maybe you had
Yeah, no, I mean, I've
in
met
terms-
many amazing ones
and
as well.
It's interesting. I'll tell you something interesting though. When I have, because we live in the old city and we have tons and tons of Shabbos guests, and when I have South African boys, they are the first ones to jump up and help.
Oh, wow.
So they're very, whatever. They may not be able to boil an egg. No, I'm joking. Or turn on the washing machine. No,
I don't mean to
I'm
be
teasing.
derogatory. It was
No.
just my
Yeah,
experience.
I get it.
What I wanted to say is that when I was a little girl, I used to look up at the sky in my backyard in Canada and see the airplanes and pray for the time that I could live in Yerushalayim.
Wow.
And it was a dream of mine to live in Yerushalayim. And when I think about you, I think about Yerushalayim because you live in the old city and you sell real estate in Yerushalayim. What does living in Yerushalayim mean to you?
Okay, it's so funny. Well, that's a good question. But what I want to say, it's always funny when people say to me, "You live in the old city." The first thing people ask me is, "So how do you do your shopping?" Anyway, I just love being in the center of the world, and I feel like Yerushalayim, the old city, that is what it is. And it's just a melting pot. As a community, it's a melting pot of so many different types of people. Mm-hmm. People think the old city is just like it's a very religious. Yes, it is. But at the same time, there's different types of people that are living there, whether it's Haredi, Dati Lumi, even secular people live there. Actually, the old city was meant to be set up not as a religious neighborhood, but as an artist colony. So you have a little bit of that still that's there, and it's very, very flavorful. But I just, never mind the old city. Yerushalayim for me, I used to say to my husband, if you take me out of Jerusalem, you might as well take me back to Chutz La'aretz, out of Israel.
Wow.
I feel such a deep spiritual connection to the place. I don't know what it is. It's just, it's special. There's something, it's magnetic.
That's right.
The word. It is magnetic. And even when I'm and I travel a lot for business, and I go to so many different cities, I'm thinking to myself, could I live here? Could I live here? Could I live here? And it's always the same. I always just feel that this is where my neshama is. This is where I feel safe in myself. I feel good there. And I don't know.
Sometimes you just know when it's right.
Well, it's like clarity, It's it just reminds me of when I met my husband. I had prayed for clarity. I was already a little bit older when I got married, and I had said that, and I came to learn, I was living in Manhattan for several years, and all my school friends had already got married and were having children, and I was still thinking, what am I doing with my life? And I was living on the Upper West Side, and I was in and out of my religious journey, depending on what was going on in my life at the time. And I had traveled to Israel when I was 18 and lived on a kibbutz. That's a whole other story. But when I was living on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, I met a gentleman who I still credit to this day. His name's Steve Eisenberg. He's a phenomenal human being. He very into Kiruv and helping people, and now he moved from Manhattan down to Miami. And he said to me, Kim, you got to go to Israel. You got to learn about your Jewish heritage. You got to, have that relationship with Hashem. And I was like, nah. He says, I'm giving you money to buy a ticket. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, I want you to go. So I took a bit of time off, and then I came, and it was just like, I just couldn't leave. I didn't want to leave. This is where I just knew I was supposed to be. But it leads me up to the story of 10 days I had my green card, and I had to go back, because at that time you had to stamp in all the time. So I ended up going back. Just before I was meant to go back, there was a woman, her name was Heather Sorota. She was a shadchanit. So I can't believe I'm going to date somebody through me.
Wait, what was her name?
Her name was Heather Sorota.
Okay.
She was the shadchanit that was in the area in Jerusalem that everybody would get set up with Esha Torah and other seminaries. And she said to me, Kim, you gotta meet somebody. I'm like, I'm going back to America. I've got everything sorted out. And anyway, she said, just go out with this one guy. And it was 10 days before I was leaving to go back to America. And I was like, what am I going out with him for? I don't need to go. I'm going to go back to America anyway. But I had been davening that when I meet the right person, because I think the biggest thing is that you never know, no, but you want that moment of like clarity, I think, in life. And sometimes you don't always get it. And I saw my husband standing on the curb waiting for me. And I had this moment of just, oh my goodness, this is my
Wow.
zivug. This is my husband. I mean, it took him a few more dates, but anyway.
Wow.
And we always joke about it because I went into the bathroom and I text my mother and I said, already she was freaking out that I'd become religious. And now I'm like, I'm staying in Israel. I'm not going back to America to live the American dream. And I had sent her a message saying, Mom, I think I just met my husband. And she's like, Kim, stop driving. What are you doing to me? You're going to give me a heart attack. Anyway, so it was just a moment of complete clarity. It's the same, though, how I feel about my work, because I absolutely love what I do. And this...
And you are really good at it.
Thank you. I think it comes from just such a deep... There's an ideology behind what I do. I just couldn't do anything just for panasa, just for money. That's not who I am as a person. And I just think that I found my tikkun, my purpose in this world. And it's such a blessing to be able to do what you love.
Absolutely.
And for me, it's not a job. Okay, this is what I do 24/7. I'm on the phone to people 3, 4 in the morning talking about Aliyah. And I tell all the people that work with me and partner with me that if your ideology is not that Israel is the home to every Jew, then you're not part of my team. I can't be working with people who just want to make deals and sell real estate. Because for me, and if you've been, you follow me, is that a house is just a house, but when you find that community, that's really when you find your home. And in order for a successful Aliyah, there's 2 things I'd say. Is that some people say to me, we're going to keep our home in America. We're going to keep the home just in case, we're going to keep that home in America. I'm like, you'll never be successful here because it's like a marriage. You have to have both feet in. And if you come here with that attitude of, I still can always go back, you'll never make it work here. So I think that's so, so important to put both feet in and really like give it a chance, but 100%. And like a shidduch, there are things that are going to be challenging. There's going to be things you cannot live without. I was saying to my clients, like, what's important to you? I just took out a client recently, and he's like, Kim, he says to me, I want you to know what you're showing me. This whole apartment is the same size as my bedroom. So I said, yeah, I know you can't bring the dining room table with you because it's a reframe when you're living here. You're not going to fit your furniture in an Israeli apartment, even in an Israeli house. And most people are spending so much more money on their houses in Israel than they are when their homes are worth in America. And I think what's scary now is when we see what's going on with the dollar.
Right.
And people are flipping out about it. And I don't know if it's going to get better. I mean, I hope it does so that people can buy and come here. But I think that there are so many other communities in Israel that one can go to that are not as expensive as the Tel Avivs, as the Renanas, as the Jerusalem, as Netanya. Even Modin's become very pricey. There are more affordable opportunities if you're willing to investigate and to look into it. So I really, really believe there's a place for everybody. It's about reframing. It's about sometimes pivoting on your career. I was in the nonprofit world for many years.
Before you became an agent?
Correct.
Okay.
I was working for Esha Torah at the time and launching an online platform called Jerusalem U. And I was also part of helping with Birthright, and we ran we started the first sober birthright trip in Israel for kids who had been clean for, I think it was 6 months. They could come on this trip because a lot of birthright is a lot of drinking, a lot of partying, and it's a trigger for most kids who have problems. So we made this trip, which was incredible. But then I decided that it was much better to be the one giving the donations instead of asking for the money. But the real reason why I got into real estate is because my parents, the memory should both of them be a blessing. They passed away about 6 years ago. They wanted to come to Israel, but they were told by the Jewish agency in South Africa that unfortunately, because they didn't come from means, they didn't have financial capabilities to come, that they thought it was not a good idea that they come. They didn't say don't come, they just didn't encourage them to come.
Wow.
And that really was upsetting for me, because I was like, how can any Jew be denied?
And there's so
or
many
encouraged?
people here that
I
are
know,
poor.
And listen, I understand. And they were, I think, because they don't want people living off the state, and they don't want people coming with issues, and they were in the best health. But I was like, there is absolutely no ways that any Jew should ever be denied entry into this country, or feel that they're not good enough to come to this country.
Lehefech, opposite.
100%. So I was like, okay, I need to make money. I need to make money. Now, my nature, I'm not a hustler, so real estate can be very hustler. You know,
Yes,
you gotta
yes.
I'm very good at what I do, but I'm not a hustling. I believe in relationships. So for me, it's a very cutthroat business. It goes against my grain. It doesn't work well with me like that, but Baruch Hashem, I'm successful because of the relationships and the referrals and the people.
That's why
that I
what I
connect
always
with.
found interesting about you, because you're a very honest, down-to-earth
Correct.
person,
And it's
and
not
real
a very-
estate is
no,
not that
it's
kind of an
really-
industry.
I could write a book about some of the things that actually happened to me in
I'm
this
sure.
business. And I always have to, somebody said to me that, you know, you just got to be true to who you are. And I think in any business, you know, the first thing they ask when you go up to Shemaim is, were you honest in business? I think that's one of the things. So I always say that my heshbon, my accounting with God, is much greater than any deal I ever do in my entire life. And you've always got to check yourself. And I think that's anything in life. You've got to ask yourself, like, is this taking me away from Hashem, or is this bringing me closer to Hashem?
Is it a competitive business?
Oh, it's horrible. It's
Really?
Yeah, it's very horrible.
How do you deal with it internally?
I think that it's hard, especially when you've been working with a client for a very long time. Then all of a sudden they'll be, oh, well, you know, a friend of mine bought with this agent, so I'm going to be going with this agent. And you've been spending many years with this person. But again, it has to come down to the fact that everything is always from Hashem, and your panasa is always from Hashem. So for me, again, it's not doing for the panasa, but everything that happens is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if it's not meant to be yours, it's not going to be yours. And you just have to be true to yourself, you know, and surround yourself by good people. I mean, you learn in the business who to work with, who not to work with. And I always say you got to have, like, I say blinkers, but in America it's called blinders. What does a horse wear when he's running?
Yeah, blinders.
Okay, blinders. So we call it blinkers. And I always say you have to stay in your lane. And I think that's everything in life. You have to keep like this and focus on your goal. If you let the outside noise in and the outside world into that, that's when the Yetzer Hara creeps in. And then you start thinking, why is this not happening to me? What am I doing wrong? And I think that's, so for me, I really try and focus on that. And I've taken, like, for example, on social media, I don't like have anybody that's other agents or competitors on my platforms. I keep very much to what I'm doing and not focusing. I mean, a lot of people have copied my platform and what I'm doing. I'm the very first person that started the Zooms on the different communities. For anybody who's watching this and you need a platform to listen to different, you know, to hear about different communities in Israel, we have this Famia Community in Israel series, which I started
What's
Corona
it called?
time. It's called Famia Community in Israel.
Okay.
And it's under Kim Bash on YouTube. And before this, I'll just rewind a little bit. I was working when I decided I need to make money to bring my parents to Israel. Oh, I went back to that, but I ended up being able to, thank God, be able to bring my parents. And the cheshbon in it was that I'd said to God, if you make me successful in real estate, I'm going to take care of my parents as much as I can financially. And the Israeli real estate exam, my neighbor said to me, you know, Kim, as well, you're very good at sales. I think you should go into real estate. And I always loved real estate. I was one of these people in South Africa. I think they have it in America. You have show days, open house days, and you can I used to go for fun, just to see what these houses look like. And I did that. Or Sundays, we just drive around and look at houses. So I used to watch Selling Sunset. I was very into real estate.
Yeah.
And my older sister, who's a phenomenal, if anybody's ever looking to buy real estate in South Africa, in Cape Town, although I don't want all the Jews to come from there, yeah. But if you are looking for an investment, she's got the most incredible beachfront properties and gorgeous properties in South Africa. Yeah, so I had said, like, if I'm going to go into this, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to be able to take care of my parents, and that was my cheshbon. But the exam was in Hebrew. Now, you've known me for a long time. I didn't speak Hebrew, guys.
You don't speak Hebrew at all?
No, I always joke, because when I get into the taxis, they say, oh, Mazel Tov, you just made Aliyah, like, how long you been here? I'm like, not so long. You don't have to know, because then the text was like, Lama lo medaber ivrit. I'm like, okay.
So did they give you the exam in English?
I was able to, at the time, you could do your real estate license. If you failed the exam, which I did the first time. Now, people think multiple choice is easy. It's not.
It's not. It's more
because they
confusing.
ask you all these things, and if you don't know the language, and it's slightly, whatever.
Yeah.
So I appealed, and I sent a letter to the Ministry of Justice, who's the ones that give out the licenses, and I said, listen, I've been having children, I've been living in the country for 10 years, because at the time you could apply for an oral exam if you'd only been here for 3 years, no more than 3 years. If you've been here for longer, then you don't qualify. But I decided to be put a little bit of Israeli in me and ask for this exam. They said, okay, you can come for the exam, you can come for the test. But I was sitting there and I learned everything. I'd done this course in English. And there was a panel of like 10 people, all professionals in real estate. And I honestly believe they were so taken with my South African accent. They were like, oh, she'll be fine. No, but it was a hard exam, but I passed, thank God. And then from then onwards, I went to work in a luxury company that mostly sold luxury real estate. And after 7 years, it wasn't that I didn't love what I was doing. It just didn't have meaning for me. It was making the deals and it was good. But for me, it had to come from a much deeper place. And I always had this Israel, Aliyah, this is a home to every Jew, want people coming. So I completely pivoted on my career. And then Corona hit, and then nobody was able to make pilot trips. How are we going to come to Israel? The whole world was shut down. So I decided that I was going to bring Israel to them, to the world. So we started the series. Our very first show was on Kamegat, which has boomed over the last couple of years. And we featured it, and we actually bought so many people from my videos ended up making Aliyah. Just very recently, it was unbelievable.
Beautiful.
I was in the old city where I live, and I went to Burger's Bar to get takeout for the kids. And this girl is looking at me from behind the counter, and she's saying, you look so familiar. I said, well, my name's Kim Bash. She goes, you're Kim Bash? Because I think I was wearing a shaitel at the time or something. She says, you look different. Okay, whatever. So she says to me, I want you to know, we moved to Rehovot. I was like, oh, really? She says, yeah, we watched one of your videos, my parents and I, and we didn't know where to move to. It was during Corona, and we came a year later, we moved to Rehovot because of one of the videos that we watched from your series. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. After all these years, it's still having, again, it's amazing. So that's a great platform. We covered over 46 different communities. We're still doing it. We now actually expanding.
So you're not selling real estate in Yerushalayim anymore?
No, I sell everywhere. I have people that work with me.
But not exclusively Yerushalayim?
No, never.
Because
never.
Do you remember how we met?
Yes, I do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You can say?
No, you can say.
Well, you're embarrassed to say?
No, only if you're okay to share.
I'm not embarrassed of anything about my past because...
Well, it brings you to who you are today.
Exactly. And I'm also, okay, I was going through a really difficult period in my life, and I was cleaning apartments. I was working for a company in Yerushalayim, and I started working in Mamila Suites. And I met some really, really wonderful people there. Like, I became friendly with them. Some of the people I cleaned for came to my son's bar mitzvah. And one of the apartments I cleaned, you had walked in. I don't remember what you were.
I think I was showing it, and maybe it was for sale at the time. Maybe
I think it was. And I met you, and you had such a great attitude, and left such an impression on me. Isn't it crazy that we still know each other? At least 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Wow.
I know. And then I said, please come and clean the apartment. Remember that you started helping me with the cleaning.
Yeah.
And she's a fantastic cleaner.
No, I don't think my kids would agree.
I want to tell you something else. This is also very funny, and it's actually hilarious that we have the same, not similar. So when I had been running in America. I was working for the UJA Federation, running a summer camp, whatever, long story. And when I came to Israel, and I came on this experience to be here, I didn't think I was going to be here for so long, and I was paying for myself all my savings. And I ended up cleaning in Hanof for these British guys. I remember my sister saying to me, my younger sister Mandy, she said to me, Kim, I cannot believe you used to be running a company in South Africa, and now you're cleaning somebody's toilets. What are you doing? And it was a very humbling experience. But at the time, you do what you need to do to make money. That's
Yeah.
what you do. And I needed money. I was I had to support myself in Israel as well. And I used all my savings up that I had saved in America for 2 years. So you do what you need to do.
Listen, when I moved to Israel, like I said in the beginning, I always wanted to live here. But when I moved here, I said, no matter what, I'm going to make it work. And it doesn't, like all of these different jobs that I had to do, it doesn't matter because for me, I look at the big picture.
Yeah.
And the big picture is that I want to put my roots down in this country.
Yeah, that's it.
And when my grandparents came to Canada after the Holocaust, my grandfather sold chickens. He was like, my grandmother also, I was doing menial jobs. That's what you got to do.
100%. And that's why I say to people, when you come here, they're so worried about their jobs. They're so worried about how they're going to make panasa. And I get it. Financial stress, there's nothing worse. But at the same time, I really believe that if you open yourself up for blessings and you become a kli for all of Hashem's brachas, and you say to Hashem, what bigger mitzvah is it then to come to the land that God has given us? I mean, that's the bottom line. This is our homeland. And if you come here with that feeling and that real intention that you're going to make it work, then I do not believe you're not going to be successful.
So can you instill that feeling, or is it something that you're born with? Because when you go around talking to people and you're trying to convince them to come here, if they don't feel it, they don't feel it.
I know that. It's like I was speaking to somebody, I had guests this week from Belgium. And we do very big Shabbos tables. But so the family we met from Belgium, and they're like, well, in Antwerp, it's very comfortable. We don't have this. We have the bubble. It's the same as the people in the 5 towns. It's the same as people in Hendon and Golders Green and in South Africa as well. I think it may be a point that sometimes when we're going to have to just, it's maybe something that you have to be in fear maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's how it comes. I hate to say it. I don't want to say it. But
you're right.
Maybe that's what it's going to have to take for Jews to get up. And I say to people, would you rather come now when you can or when you have to?
Exactly.
And I think the writing's on the wall. And I think that's going to happen in America, in my opinion, is that after Trump leaves office, it depends on who comes in, J.D. Vance or maybe Marco Rubio. It depends on who gets in. If it's going to be Republican, God willing, we'll see what it looks like for Aliyah. I think we'll see a mass Aliyah in about 3 or 4 years.
I feel the same. Like I on one hand, I'm like, you can't really convince someone that it's the right thing to do. But on the other hand, it's a responsibility to warn them.
100%.
Because, like you said, God forbid they should come here because they have to, because they don't have a choice. I actually spoke to someone today from Sweden who said that they have to leave because the anti-Semitism, the crime from all the Muslim communities there has gotten so bad that they don't have a choice. I can't believe what's going on in the world.
Well, even in South Africa, I said the Jews in South Africa has been very, very, safe for many years. But I've always said that, South African government's been in bed with Iran for years. They have their terrorist training camps there, and they get a lot of money from
Really?
them. Yeah. And recently, just in the news now, I mean, there's been isolated incidences, but now one of the big schools, King David High School, which is the Jewish school, one of the main Jewish schools in South Africa, and they were playing like they have leagues where they compete in high school against other schools for tennis. They had just recently had a tennis match, and one of the schools refused to play them because it's a Jewish school.
Wow.
And I believe that principal had to resign now. But that's Europe is crazy. I don't think, if you go to some of the neighborhoods in London now, you don't think you're in England.
I don't want to go to Europe.
No,
I have no cheshek, no will to go to Europe, or even to North America for that matter. No. It's a kind of it's a horrible feeling knowing that you can't leave, there's nowhere for us to go.
It's interesting. I have a client, Sarah, whose family was, I think I spoke to her about a year ago. She was looking at real estate. And she has family. We had a whole conversation because she's from Iran. And she has family. At the time, this is over a year ago, she still had her sister was in Iran and her parents were still in Iran. And I said to them, why? I said to her, why didn't they leave? Why aren't they leaving? She says, because Kim, they have all their business there. They made their money there. They live a good life there. So they have to look like a Muslim and they have to cover their, the women wear like the hijabs and, as long as they have no affiliation to Israel, they can have a synagogue. They have a synagogue there. They can pray, but they can't have anything to do with Israel. And if you leave with nothing. That's basically it. And I actually I wondered what happened to them during this time. If if they got out or they're still there. But
Israel is now the safest place
I know,
in the
sounds
world,
crazy.
and not only in terms of being a Jew, in terms of just being a person.
I know.
Isn't that so crazy?
There's something, even when I leave and I go and I'm traveling this week, God willing it should go well, I'm coming to the UK to try and encourage Aliyah and just, try and, give people the different opportunities that we have in Israel. But even when I leave to go on trips like this, I'm like, I don't really want to go. I really don't like leaving Eretz Israel. There's something when I come back, I feel like this is it. This is where I feel safe. This is where I feel at home. And I gave up my green card. No reason to ever have that. And I never, ever want to leave. I never, ever want to leave. I just feel that this is the only place that, as I said before, I've said it so many times already, but this is where we're supposed to be. There's nowhere else we should be. Even the people that say, oh, with the Jews in the diaspora, you need us. And I say, no, we do not need you. You need us.
That's right.
And I've said it time and time again. People get very upset with me when I say that. I said, like, America, we do not need America. America needs Israel. And I think the more people get that, then they'll be maybe like, okay, maybe you need to come here. You can bring your work. You can bring your careers. You just need to have the right attitude to come here.
Quick pause because there's something I want to tell you about that I'm genuinely loving. I've partnered up with Groovim Socks, an Israeli sock brand that knows how to have fun with identity. Their designs cover everything from Theodore Herzl to shakshuka, culture, humor, and personality that you can actually wear. And honestly, if you're like me and have a hard time choosing gifts for people, this is the perfect option. It's fun, thoughtful, and something people can actually use. And here's the deal. When you order 3 or more pairs, you get 45 shekels off. Just use the link in the description below or say my name, Dayna, Dayna, at the checkout, and you'll get your discount. Now back to the episode. Did you have any Zionistic education when you were growing up?
I grew up in a completely
So what was your
secular-
connection to
I
Yiddishkeit
don't
and
know,
to nothing?
I learned my Aleph Base when I came to Israel. Nothing.
Really?
I grew up in a completely secular environment.
You
Nothing.
had no connection to
Nothing.
Judaism?
No, obviously we knew we were Jewish. My parents are both Jewish, so we knew we were Jewish. And we used to have like on, Pesach and Rosh Hashanah, and we used to get together with our family and we used to have like a meal together. It was a social event. It was, we used to read the
like no
Haggadah
shul,
on
no-
Pesach in English. And it would be a great family get together. And we were very traditional. South Africans are generally quite traditional people.
Wait, where were your parents from?
My mother was actually born in Kenya. It's interesting. Her
Wow.
parents were born, they were English, but my grandfather worked for the British government. He was a lawyer, and he came to Kenya. There was about 60 Jewish families, and my mother grew up in Kenya. My mother spoke fluent Swahili. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
But she was schooled in London, and she was a principal ballet dancer for the Royal Academy of Ballet, which is very interesting. And then she ended up coming to South Africa. I think she was on some kind of tour with her dance company or doing a show in South Africa, and she met my father on the beach. And the rest is history. But and my father was from a place in South Africa called Natal, a Mamsen Toti, and he was like a farm boy. He also grew up speaking Zulu, which is an African language. And it was just we grew up, as I said, in South Africa, originally in Durban, and then we moved to Johannesburg because there's more opportunity. But I have 3 amazing sisters. We're all very different, have gone very different paths. But
What do they think about you? About your life?
Thank God we have such a great relationship.
My mother, respectful,
very
and
much so.
They come visit?
Very, very, and I'm actually going to be staying with my sister now. My daughter's there right now. We have such love for each other and respect for each other.
Beautiful.
And we all have our own paths in this world, and we all do our own thing. And family is family. And no matter, I always also with my children, my children, I have, thank God, 5 children. I've got my daughter, and then I've got 4 boys. A lot of teenagers in the house.
Wait, how many do you have altogether?
5 kids.
5 kids,
I have
okay.
a daughter,
Beautiful.
Hava, who's amazing.
Kanina Hara.
She's 21 and she's studying at Betzalel. She's an artist. She's a phenomenal artist. And then I have the 4 boys, and they're all cooking and all are doing their own thing. And I remember Rebbetzin Spetner, who is an educational guru in the frum world. She used to say in her parenting classes, you always want your dress to be your children's dress, no matter what. You know, like every kid goes through has their own derech, has their own path. And my children are, you know, doing their own thing. Not everybody's following our path, but that's okay. Everybody's got to do their own thing. And it's the same as my relationship with my sisters, and everybody's got their own families. And I think it's my Rebbetzin Weinberg used to say that life is like a tapestry. The back of a tapestry is a big mess, but when you turn it over, there's a beautiful picture. So we don't understand how Hashem is orchestrating things. And the same, everybody's got their own stuff in there. We all have, my mother also used to say, everybody's got their own pekalach. You don't want somebody else's problems. We've all got our
That's
stuff.
right. They have a Yiddish saying that if everyone puts their parcels and their
Yeah,
packages
you'll
in the middle,
still choose your own.
you come back with your own.
You'll still choose your own.
Yeah.
So, but some of the best decisions I've ever made in my life was to stay in Eretz Yisrael, and you know, had the green card, had the job.
Yeah. So tell me about that. You said you grew up in South Africa.
Yeah, I grew up in South Africa, and I was actually in South Africa running a. I come from actually a marketing sales background, but I had an opportunity to start what was called Camp Counselors USA in South Africa. Now that in American summer camps, I'm sure, did you go to Canadian summer camps?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so in America there's a huge industry. The summer camp industry is massive.
Yes.
Not just Jewish camps all over
That's
America.
something you should probably bring to Israel.
Yeah,
no offense,
actually,
the camp situation here is horrible.
I know, it's not great. But anyway, so what we would do in South Africa is I ran the South African office of this company called CCUSA, Camp Counselors USA. We would send South Africans to work at summer camps. Now, they love South Africans. Why? Because great work ethic and very sporty. So they would be, you know, the swimming instructor, the ropes course instructor, the art, whatever it was. And I ran this with my younger sister, Mandy. We ran the office in South Africa, and it gave us an opportunity to visit the States many times to see our counselors at various different camps. And also in the winter months, we'd send them to work, although the South Africans were not so great on the cold weather, they hated going, but they would go work on ski resorts and hotels during the winter months. And it gave them what was called a J1 work visa. Mm-hmm. So they got to experience their work opportunities, whether it was a summer camp or a ski resort, different times of the year, and then they would get to stay in America and travel. So when I was on one of these tours, checking out the different, you know, camps and traveling, I had got offered a position to work running a retreat center in Connecticut. So they sponsored my visa. I did not come into the country illegally. I was there legal with a visa.
Yeah.
And then I was running in Connecticut this amazing retreat center, which was in Falls Village, Connecticut. I have such amazing memories. Beautiful, except for what they called those horrible little gnats. They're like those irritating bugs that fly around you all the time. It was like on a lake, so it was very beautiful. And there I used to travel every weekend to run these programs. We ran programs for the senior citizens. We ran for all the Jewish schools. They would come to this like nature. It's a beautiful and gorgeous place, and it was like a little retreat place. And during that time, I was living on the Upper West Side and commuting every Shabbos down to this camp and running the programs. And that's where I met Steve Eisenberg and started going to classes on the Upper West Side. And he was the one that said to me, Kim, you really, you know, Judaism's important. Even though I was connected, I wasn't really fully committed. You know, I think it took me about 8 years to become religious after my first going into it. And so it's been a journey. But I love my life. I'm so blessed every single day. As much as, you know, we have our challenges like everything else in life, but I feel so fulfilled in what I'm doing. And
how did you become religious?
It was from going to Aisha Torah. My mother used to say I've been brainwashed. I said, yes, my brain needed a lot of washing. It was a joke, but it came from just, you know, I'm a truth seeker. And I think that if you're looking for it, you'll find it. And I don't think it has to be all or nothing. I didn't think I would be covering my hair, and I didn't think I'd be dressing a certain way.
Why do you do it?
I believe in it. I believe in that being, the sneers and the hair covering and all of that, because I believe in the Torah, and that's what it says. And also internally, was it hard to cover my hair? Very long hair. Yes, it is.
You still have very long hair?
Yeah, I never cut it. This is all my hair. No thing at the top to make it bigger. This is all my hair under here. But I believe in dressing a certain way, being respectful for myself and for my husband. I don't see it as a restriction, though. I think of it as being a very beautiful thing. You know, it's the same as anything in this world. What's sneers is blessed. What's modest is what's for yourself is for yourself. And I also say that for the real estate. Like a lot of people say to me, well, how many sales do you do? Like how much money, not money, they won't ask. Actually, an Israeli will ask you how much you make, you know. But in general, I keep my business very, very quiet. I don't want other people knowing what I've got. And what I have is a bracha, is a blessing to be successful. And I
You
don't take it
believe
for
in what you
granted.
do and you live it.
100%. 100%. But I'm very satisfied with, not maybe satisfied is a very parav word to use, but I really feel like I have a full life. You know, there's never a dull moment. Of course, there are moments of, you know, we all have the challenges, but wouldn't change anything.
Since the war,
Yes.
what has the market in real estate been like here in Israel? Like I know you said you have the website, that you have the Zoom,
Yeah.
but have you noticed any difference? Is there more interest? Are more people buying?
I think that it's the same as Corona times. We were selling over WhatsApp. I was selling houses for millions of dollars over my phone just by doing video calls on WhatsApp. And I think that the war only really made people understand that there's one Eretz Israel. And this is it. I think it's never gone down. In my world, it has never gone down. There's always been people looking, whether it's buying on paper, planning for the future. There was something going around, I don't know if you saw it online, it just made me laugh because there was this, it was on Instagram, I saw it, with this person walking with this glass box, and inside the glass box, they're walking towards the kotel, and inside was this Israeli passport, and it says break in case of an emergency. And I thought it was very funny because people are buying as their security blanket, their security to have something in Eretz Israel. I think it's sad because they should be coming, but everybody knows they need to have a home in Israel.
Luxury apartments or just
I
regular?
think everything. I think what anybody can afford. I remember many years ago, I had this woman who inherited, I think it was $250,000, which at the time, I think it was about 800,000 shekels. I don't even remember. And she said to me, Kim, I know it's not a lot of money because it isn't in Israel. She said, what can I do with this? What can I do? And we searched. I said to her, okay, I think I found you something. She said, I don't care where it is. I just want to buy a place in Israel to know that I've got something there. I may never come, but I want to know I've got it. So we found her a place in Carmiel, which is a beautiful place, by the way, gorgeous,
in the
green,
north, yeah.
Gorgeous. And it's about 3 hours away on the train, but it's not terrible. And the community's amazing there. And we found her something, and it was a 2-bedroom, a little rundown. They had renters in it already, and she was absolutely delighted. So I do feel that, you know, if you've got to be willing to be adventurous a little bit. It depends on how much your budget is. Things are not cheap here. They really aren't. Prices of real estate are...
Especially in your neighborhood, in the
I
old
know.
city and in
Oh,
Mamila,
yeah. But
those
actually,
apartments.
to be honest with you, Old City's not as expensive as
Really?
people. It's expensive, but not like the other neighborhoods like Rehavia, Baka, German Colony, and Old Katzamon. They precede the Old City real estate. Because Old City is more like people, you have to be a certain kind of person who wants to be there. Like you've got to like the shopping and the, you know.
How do you do shopping?
So, you know, I didn't have a car for 20 years, by the way. I never needed a car. And then as I started to travel more in business, I got a car in the end. But in general, we have an amazing thing every single week. We have what's called the Mechira, the sale, the community sale. And you order online, and they literally come with boxes of tomatoes, boxes of cucumbers. You can even order chicken. You can get your daily groceries, your cleaning supplies, and it all comes into the main square right by my house. And it's like on a trust system. You order it, and then you just come and pick it up. You just come with your little granny agala, and you put it in. And so going to the shuk, I go to literally outside my door. But you get deliveries. I even have a mobile vet. Hello, Molly, if you're watching. So she comes to my house because I have a cat. I know not many people like cats. I'm a cat lady. I feed the cats. I'm not well liked on my street, but I do.
Okie dokie.
But anyway, so I have a cat, and we got a cat. So anyway, you can do anything in the old city. And also we have the most amazing McCollett's shops. We have at least 3 there. You can do all your shopping if you want to there. Great. I mean, I don't know if you've been to the old city lately. Yep. We have sushi. We have tons of shawarma places. We have pizza. We have the ice cream souk at Sefet is there. We have Naaman Bakery there. It's just It's
Besides the shopping
yeah.
in the
What's
in the
changed?
old city, yeah, what's changed over the last 20 years?
What's changed over the last 20 years? A lot of our friends who were living there temporarily couldn't find housing and moved out. So that was a big deal for us. Like a lot of the Asia Torah community. Aish Jerusalem is not really a community, it's a yeshiva, but a lot of people that were there in the beginning years when we first got married have gone out and done kiruv and left. So there are not many people that are affiliated with Aish living in the old city. But a lot of people, because there's a lot of renters have moved out. Because either the owners have decided to sell, and there's always a big thing about the old city, like, Kim, please don't sell to the old city to another family who's not going to come and live here and just be,
People get upset about that.
They do. They get very, very, very upset. Interesting, I had this recently with somebody. I was doing a Zoom on a particular community, and they're like, well, we don't know if we want more chutzniks coming here, because then they make the prices more expensive. And I think that actually happened during Corona.
Was that Netanya?
It was actually in Ramat Beit Shemesh.
Okay.
Ramat Beit Shemesh. But another thing I want to point, even Ramat Beit Shemesh has changed. It's become a different place because it's become a lot more colorful. Ramat Beit Shemesh is traditionally very, very religious, which it is, but it's changed over the years. It's become much more flavorful because of the people coming in. But I remember during Corona, what was happening, and people were getting really upset, is that people were wanting to make Aliyah, and they were paying a much higher rent. And people were getting kicked out who'd been in that apartment for a long time because the owners were like, well, I can get more money now for my apartment. It's in high demand.
Yeah.
So again, and I'm not one of these agents who tells the client, if I'm selling the house, that it's worth much more than it is. I won't take on a property if I can't sell it. But you've got to be competitive, and a lot of these people want to price it, especially in the old city where people have an emotional connection to the property.
Yes.
There's people that have lived there for a very long time. There's a saying I always say that some people think their properties are the best thing since sliced bread. It's like they have that emotional, and those are the hardest sales to make because they're not giving up.
Would you be picky about the people you sell to?
100%. And I don't work with
Like I
people
saw
that
the other day you were posting about this apartment where the view was the kotel. Right?
Yeah,
Insane, right? First of all, how much does an apartment like that go for?
So that's asking. They're asking now 36 million shekels for
what?
36 million.
What's the commission on 36 million shekels?
Okay, by the way, I never ever, whenever I'm doing a deal, I never work out how much money I'm going to earn. I think it's an ein horror, so I don't.
Okay.
And by the way, I never tell anybody I make even my I'm saying my family, my husband, if I tell. No, but I'm saying even if I did, I don't tell him anything. I say to him when the deal's done. I don't tell him if I'm in contract because anything can happen. By the way,
you're
up
right.
until the end of the transaction. I say, I was in contract now with something, and I'm very much, the engineer came in and everything looked amazing from the outside, but the engineer found a lot of things wrong with the apartment. And if the engineer says, I've got a phenomenal engineer I work with, and if he says to me, thumbs up, it's good to go, obviously he writes a report, but some things are little things to fix. But if he says, Kim, this is a bad apartment, it's a bad apartment, we don't go with it. Same as a lawyer. You have to have lawyers and people on your team that you can trust.
Right.
And again, you're not buying, I say to my clients, no matter how much money you have to spend, it's not buying a pair of shoes. It's a very big responsibility, and I take that very seriously. Another thing that I've been, thank God, very blessed with is intuition. So when I am working with the clients, I do not have to take them to see tons of apartments. I can pretty much, after the first, 20 minutes, suss them out.
Yeah.
I had sold something to a family not so long ago that moved from Neve Daniel, which is in the Gush.
My sister lives there.
Beautiful, big houses, right?
Yeah,
gorgeous.
Yeah.
And they decided that once the kids were grown, her love was always to move to Yerushalayim.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of people do that. They move where their kids need to go to schools. And then afterwards they want, more, social, to go to wherever, Shirim, or to walk to the Kotzal, wherever it's important. So they wanted to, everybody moved out the house and they wanted to move. And she had been working with a realtor for a long time, which was a friend. And I believe in loyalty. And I think if you have a friend in the business, you should work with them. And she said to me that her friend had shown her 35 apartments. I'm like, what? How can somebody show you 35 apartments? She says, yeah. I said, well,
either she's picky or
whatever. I just was
realistic.
very, very. I mean, that's like worried about. I'm going to lose the client. I might as well show them absolutely everything on the business, on the market, and not actually listen to what they want.
Right.
So
it's like
she said to me, "Can you show me things?" I said, "Listen. First of all, I want you to tell your friend who's an agent, because relationships are very important. You don't want any negativity on you, that you're going to go out with another broker, because I don't want that on me, because I know the other broker and we have a good relationship. So she said, okay, I spoke to my friend, and she said she is confident. She has shown me everything, and if I find something, so be it. So I said, okay, I'm going to show you one apartment. She says to me, one apartment? You're going to show me one apartment? I said, yeah, one apartment. Anyway, I take her to this one apartment. She walks in and she goes, oh my gosh, this is my apartment. I said, that's what it's all about. You need, you have to. And for me, I have enough experience now to understand somebody, to understand what they're looking for. I also do a lot of dynamics of couples. Sometimes I have a client which is hilarious. It's a Syrian client. I won't mention any names, of course. So his wife, he said to me, not so long ago, my wife would have to see Nazis in the street in order for her to pack up her belongings and move to Eretz Israel.
From where?
Okay?
From
From
New
Brooklyn.
York?
From
New
Brooklyn.
York, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
very tight-knit community. And I understand it. It's very hard. By the way, I'm not saying you have to, if people have elderly parents, it's very hard to leave, and I'm not saying people should. All I'm saying is you should get yourself secure in Israel no matter what, as getting an apartment, even if you have to wait. Even though there's amazing old age homes now that are available for people, you just have to look for it to find it. But so this client of mine has secretly been buying properties without his wife knowing.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, not so bad. Anyway, he runs the finances in the house. He's not lying to her. He's just getting his future. He's building his portfolio here. So instead of buying an apartment in Miami, which is a lot of people have been doing, he's buying in Eretz Israel. So he's building himself up here. He says, I know what the future looks like for the Jews in America. My wife may not want to admit it, but I got it. I get it.
It's a hard thing. It's a hard pill to swallow.
It's a very hard pill to swallow. It's a very hard, especially when you're paying so much for something so little. And the size of apartments here are small. It is definitely an adjustment.
It's a huge adjustment.
It's
at no matter what standard.
No, it doesn't matter what you do, and it's a reframe completely. It's a rewiring. But it's a beautiful life. And
I know that you have a limit on your time
Yes.
here, but I want to ask you one more question. The difference between the Kim 20 years ago and the Kim now. What do you think? How have you changed?
How have I changed?
I mean, definitely you've improved. You've got even more beautiful.
No.
Yeah, and smarter.
No, smarter, I don't know about that. I think that my value system has changed, and I think that I am very grateful for absolutely everything that I have. And I was in that whole materialistic road of money and being successful, and that's just taken on a different perspective for me about what is valuable, having children, and that's the biggest success, is having a family, I think, and being able to have relationships with people you care about, which I realize I should not take for granted at all, because there's a lot of people, like, for example, I'll mention my in-laws. I lost my parents, unfortunately, 4 months apart from each other.
Oh, wow.
And my parents, even though we're not religious, they lived next to me in the old city. My father had come to Israel in 1967. My mother, the first time she came to Israel was when I got married. And they came here, and it was very hard for them to adjust to a new country, living in the old city, for living your whole life in one house basically in South Africa, and having to downsize and start again. My mother was very happy here because she was with the grandchildren.
Yeah.
My father struggled because he had a whole life and friends. My mother lived for her grandchildren, and they died 4 months apart from each other. It was very hard for me.
I'm sure.
And it doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter how. It was incredibly painful. But what gives me a little bit of shalom is that they're buried in Eretz Israel. So their final resting place is here. But I always say, if they can do it in their 70s, then anybody, can do it. And as hard as it was for them, it was just such an incredible experience having them next to me. Family has been so important, and it always has been. So going back to my in-laws, who, thank God, some people don't get on with their family, don't get on with their in-laws, and I'm so blessed to have the most incredible in-laws. And I used to, when I joked with them that when my parents passed away, I said, okay, now one of you has to be on my side. But family to me is number one. And sometimes I have to remember that when I'm working, because I am a bit of a workaholic. But my kids know that for me, it's such a mitzvah to be able to do what I'm doing. And I love it so much.
You're a perfect example of someone who finds the equilibrium between Ben Adam Lamakom and Ben Adam Lechavero. And I'm
It's a hard
really,
balance. It's a hard balance.
it is
isn't it?
a hard balance, but I don't know why, like we reconnected
I
or
know.
connected. I
Well,
think
I'm so
everything
honored
happens
to be
for
on
a
the
reason.
show. I've
I'm
been
honored
watching
that you
you.
came.
Oh my gosh, I was like,
I'm honored that you
absolutely.
came.
And I'm so proud of you for just everything that you know. It's hard to pick yourself up when you're in those moments of darkness, and you know we all go through it, and it's like a reframe. And I was just talking to somebody recently, a guy in his 50s who just lost his job, and it's so hard to pick yourself up again and to figure out how you're going to make life work for you again,
Yeah.
and just
Life is a journey.
100%.
And everything happens for a reason. And you know what?
100%.
At the end of the day, I'm really, as a parent, what you want to impose on your children is give them the tools on how to live. And when they see a parent who is an example of going through a hard time and coming out of it, I think that's like a really good lesson for them. You know?
100%. I do think this generation, though, is hard. It's very hard, having gone through Corona,
Yeah.
having gone through a war. Israeli kids are the most resilient children.
Yeah.
You can't compare an 18-year-old in this country to an 18-year-old anywhere else in the world.
For sure.
There's a different level of maturity that they go through.
Yeah.
And I think just
Well, they
growing-
become adults very
They
young.
become adults very, 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 very quickly. I do think, though, a lot of the time, in general in this generation, is that there's a lack of motivation and an entitlement, that it's a lot easier, especially with social media, which I think is amazing. At the same time, can be very self-destructive.
Yeah, for sure.
And, all the tablets, all the phones, my TikTok and all of the stuff, I think it's poison, a lot of it. And
It's a
I'm not
voda
being
zara.
old-fashioned. It's not because I'm religious. I just see. And I also think that a lot of people have lost the ability to think for themselves. And I think you've got to catch yourself. And you've got to learn to be independent. Even becoming religious. You can go through, I think we changed a lot over the years of being very much when you're the raving Baalat Teshuva, and you're holier than thou, and you think you learn to detox, and you learn to accept, and you change, and you pivot, and you work with what Hashem has given you. And also, I'm the type of person, I'm not a survivor, but I grew up in a family that didn't have money. We grew up, as I said, I had a job at the age of 13. I learned how to work hard from the very beginning. I bought my own cars. I went overseas, I paid for my own trips. I didn't believe in, first of all, mediocrity is not a word in my vocabulary. I believe we can all be successful no matter what our circumstances. It's all about how we reprogram ourselves and how we look at the world. It's not what happens to us, it's how we react to it.
For sure.
And it takes time. And we all a work in progress. And sometimes we give ourselves a hard time. It's okay. When I'm having a down day, I give myself time to have that downtime and to be, if I want to be a little sad, I can be sad. But then I give myself, okay, Kim, it's enough being miserable. Pick yourself up.
How do you deal with difficult people?
Be nice to them.
Really?
Yeah.
Shower them with kindness?
Shower them with kindness. Shower them with kindness.
What about rejection?
Oh, it's hard, especially when you're working hard with a client. I mean, I just had a client I was working with for many years. And again, I said in the beginning, and he ended up working with another broker. And I was so insulted because I had given my 100% to this client. That's another thing in the business I've become a little bit confident, is I will tell somebody, because in this, there's no exclusivity on buyers here. So, you can work with anybody. There may be an exclusive seller on a property. Let's say you're selling a home in Modin, for example. There will be brokers that are the listing agents who are representing the seller. But then as a buyer, they're usually doing what's called shituf pula, which you can share. So I'm traditionally what's called a buyer's agent, which means that people will come to me and I'll help them source the properties. So we don't necessarily have our own listings, but we work in co-broker with other agents. So a lot of my clients will, I had a client that sent me 12 listings they found online. Yad Shtayim. Unfortunately, there's no MLS in Israel. There are some new AI websites that are starting. We'll see what happens with that. But it's not like Zillow in America where you can see all the listings, what you paid for it. It doesn't happen in this country. Even on Yad Shtayim, you'll find listings that have been up there for years.
Right.
Somebody phoned me not so long ago and said to me, Kim, I see you selling your house in the old city. I said, what are you talking about? She sends me a listing of my house from 9 years, whenever it was when we bought it. And I said, no, that's an old listing from whenever. I'm not going anywhere. So there's no updating of websites. So a client had sent me 12 listings that he said, what are all these properties? None of them were relevant. None of them were relevant. So you have to work with an agent who knows the market very well and who's going to, again, show you relative listings according to your criteria, which is very important. But also, so I've got into a position now with clients that if they're going to work with multiple brokers, I tell them from the beginning, listen, it's a competitive business. If you give me 100%, I'm going to give you 100%. If you're going to work with other brokers, I'm sorry, I can't work with you. Now, some people don't like that. Like, I want to know that I'm seeing everything. You have to trust me. You have to trust the process. So not everybody be confident. They'll be afraid to lose the clients. But Baruch Hashem, over the years, I've built a good reputation, and I feel confident saying that to a client.
Is there anything now that you want to promote while you have this platform? Besides your real estate company.
Besides real estate, I am here for anybody who wants to have any kind of consultation, whether it's to ask me about schooling for their children, whether it's to find out about senior living facilities for their elderly parents because they don't want to, they don't want to leave them behind. Whatever your fear is that you want to bounce off me, I am here. Usually 24/7. You can call me up very late. I have, thank God, been blessed with the fact that I don't need a lot of sleep. So I'm up very late. I need about 3 hours sleep. People say, how do you do it? I don't know. Hashem has allowed me to be able to be okay in the morning. But
you're a malach.
I really work very long hours. And again, I just believe in if you really want it, you will do it. And that's anything in life. It's working hard. It's understanding that it will be challenging. If you come here with that mindset of it's not going to be easy, but it's the right decision, you just got to come. You just got to come. But again, not just from the real estate, from anything to do with Aliyah, anything to do with Israel. To ask me any questions, I'm available. You're welcome to put my details on.
I will. I'll get everything from you.
Again, if you have any UK listeners, we will be in the UK next week to come and do some parlor meetings.
This episode, God willing, will be coming out on Thursday.
Oh, great. Okay, excellent. But again, for anybody, I don't like to, there's a lot of people doing these real estate fairs. I say be very careful. There's a lot of real estate being sold online. Please know where you're buying. I had a client that had bought at one of these real estate fairs. And they, in the sales pitch, they was, it's not far from the old city, it's walking distance. And then she ended up coming to see where it was, and it was nowhere where they had said it was going to be. So just understand, I'm not saying if it's for an investment, you can buy anywhere. Anything you buy in Eretz Yisrael is only going to appreciate. You don't make money here in yields and rent like you do in Chutz La'aretz, but where you make your money is an appreciation. And if you can, you should. I don't care what you buy, really, but you should, if it's just investment, you should definitely get your foot in the door because I do believe the prices are going to go up. As crazy as that sounds, I do not believe it's going to go down. And that also is because of the dollar right now, so it's making it a little bit more challenging.
So you don't recommend selling now?
I don't believe in selling real estate.
Ever?
If you don't have to, you don't. The only time you sell, and that's also with my clients, when we're buying, one of the things I always think about for them on their behalf is this a property I can sell quickly if they need to financially sell it? The only time you should sell is if you need to. Nothing in life should ever take you to financial stress. Coming from a family who struggled with finances, it's a terrible feeling. So I don't think anything. You only do what you can do. When you can stretch yourself, you should. Like if somebody's looking with me and they're buying on paper and they're looking at that 3-bedroom, but they really want the 4-bedroom and it's a little bit more, but you can take out a mortgage. People don't realize in Israel you can take out a mortgage. Foreign buyers can borrow up to 50%. If you make Aliyah, you can borrow up to 70%, sometimes 75%. The rates are much better than America. So, and also some of these projects have a longer runway. You can take up to 4 years to pay it off. And sometimes it's only a 20% down and 80% at the end. And again, there's so many opportunities. We now started working also in Judea and Samaria. So we're looking at everywhere. Israel,
there is a place for everyone.
There's a place for everybody. And again, there's beautiful places. If you want the countryside, if you want to live in a yeshuv, if you want to live by the ocean. Netanya's not the only place, okay? I mean, it's gorgeous, and if you can afford it, it's wonderful. But there are other seaside
like
towns.
Ashkelon,
Ashdod, Naharia,
right.
Achiz at the top there is beautiful. Also going up north, there's just such the Golan, Katzrin, Chizban, Kamiel is beautiful, Pares Khan is beautiful, Benjamin is beautiful. Okay, it depends. Another thing is you should have an Anglo element to it, and I don't believe in fully integration because you will never be Israeli. Yes, you should learn the language. Don't be like me. You should learn the language. Although, by the way, everybody says to me, how do you can be here with English only. And believe me, I've lived here and run a successful business, been here for over 24 years. It's challenging. Google Translate's my best friend. And my kids, I get very annoyed every time I'm handing the phone to them. I don't understand what this guy's saying. But you can surround yourself by people who are going to help you as well. That's just an excuse I don't speak the language. And be creative, like people are more capable than they think they are. And I think we get lazy and we get so used to what we're doing that we don't think we're capable of doing more than what we think we can. And if you keep, you've got to, it's been, look at you. You've created a whole world for yourself outside, whatever you were doing before. You pivoted and you picked yourself up. And, I just think it's all about reinventing oneself. And at any age, by the way, I don't believe in that. Like I have a friend
It's not over till it's over.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who was a very, successful lecturer in a university, and she just couldn't get a job here. And her love was in sports, and she was a very good athlete, and she is very good at aerobics, and very good at Pilates, and very good at yoga. So she went and got a yoga license, whatever you need to become a yoga instructor. And she's running a successful yoga studio now. So you do what you need to do to survive. But
That's right.
You got to, they say the longest distance is between the head and the heart. And Israel is sometimes the emotional connection. But I do believe they can meet. And I think that if you, as I said from the beginning, if you really want it, you can make it work. And I just give everybody a blessing that they come home and they see the light. And I'm here for anybody who wants to have a conversation, be it Aliyah, be it real estate, whatever it may be.
Thank you so much
It's been
for
such a pleasure.
gracing me with your
Oh my
presence
goodness,
and for all of the influence that you have on Yerushalayim, on Am
amen.
Yisrael, on Israel. I wish you so much Hatzlacha in the
Amen.
future.
Thank you. And just another last word is that when we are united, we are stronger. And when we're not united, that's when the enemies, get the better of us. And we're powerful people. And again, this is our homeland. So come home.
Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Dayna Show. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to the podcast, like and share with your friends on social media, and rate us 5 stars. Don't forget to tune in next week, and we'll see you then.